Okay. There's a term that's come up lately, which is pinkwashing, where one trots out a symbol of one's good intentions without actually doing it. It's been used against oil companies by trotting out when they show what they're doing for solar energy, and they keep on pumping oil. It is used very much so lately against Israel. Every time that anybody in Israel says, but wait a minute, we don't understand, lesbians, gay, people, binary, whatever you want to call, in Muslim countries are at risk of their lives, serious risk of their lives. Sultan of Brunei, right? Brunei, owns the big hotel up on Sunset. I think it's the pink one, big pink one on Sunset. There was a boycott of his hotel for a while because Brunei is the Sultan of Brunei. He ordered the execution of anybody who came out as gay. So in Israel, he could be gay. Representative for Israel at the International Song Festival was transgender. Okay, live and let live. But when we mention it, then we're accused of pinkwashing. So now I see that exactly the same thing is happening against Jews and against Israel. Like when there was any kind of attack by Iran against Israel, they march out their representative from the Neturei Karta, says wonderful people in Iran and Israel is Satan. Or they march out the leaders of the Jewish community that are in Iran who say we back the regime. And of course, then I ask my Iranian counterparts here, what's happening in Iran? He says, we are not allowed to speak because they're held ransom, hostage. Yeah, they can go back and forth, but if they say anything, or if we as an organization say anything, they're in danger, their lives are in danger. So that's, now I'll give it its name, Jewwashing. Jewwashing. And I see this, I hate to say it, in what's going on in the campuses, where I see this, like LA Times has a Jewish representative from the anti-Israel protests saying, we're Jews in here. We did a Seder, we're saying so. And I call that Jewwashing. Because well-intentioned as they may be, and wanting to be active, and I can understand justice is an important issue, playing right into the hands of people whose stated goal is nothing else than the elimination of the Jewish people. Period. Elimination of the Jewish people, or at best, the Jews survive under their old Islamic status of the dhimmi. Pay tax to me, and I'll let you survive. Which was historic Islam, is still the case in Iran. I believe they are charging them. So anyway, I too was once a campus radical. Yes, at New York University, they had an uptown campus, and there had been a student takeover of the administration offices. I don't even remember what the case was. It was not directly involved with the war in Vietnam. It was something about one of the professors had said something about somebody. Maybe it was actually about something Jewish, but they took over the building because they want to defend them. This was 68 or 69. Police were brought in to clear the takeover. And I, like my fellow students, I was in sympathy with my classmates. Don't bring in the police, even if we ourselves were not the protesters. And even we agreed with the university, we did not want the police in. So, and I was the leader of the Jewish Students Organization. I was on the front line at the entrance to the university, sitting on the ground to block the police from coming in, as they were all arrayed in New York's finest. Now, we know how very often some of these protests ended up in the 60s, where Kent State student was dead. So fortunately, at some point, the confrontation came to an end and the police backed off, and yours truly is able to stand here today without a cracked skull. So the question is, what is the difference then and now? And I think about it. Then we were standing up to the police to defend our fellow students, even though we did not agree with them. Agree or not, let us deal with it, not the police. And today, our young students in campuses across this country are standing in protest against the police for the right to harass and abuse their fellow students, especially if any kind of association with the state of Israel, or having been Israelis, of Israeli background, or even just belonging to organizations like Hillel and Chabad. Because that's what's been happening. And it was bad long before October 7th. So don't tell me about the killings in Gaza. It was happening, and increasingly more so. Our granddaughter 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, had to speak before the California regents just about how bad the harassment was at UC San Diego, which is actually not a radical campus in the sense of protests. It's a quieter campus, relatively speaking. So she had to protest. So I present us then with a then and now. So many years ago, long before I want to remember, I ran Jewish students' activities at New York University at the downtown campus at Washington Square. It was 1971, I think it was 72. We were organizing a rally to celebrate Israel Independence Day at Washington Square Park. That's the beautiful place. Anytime you see a romantic movie in Manhattan, it's at Washington Square, the arch right there at the park. Right? Every romantic movie in New York, it's right there at that park. So here I am, yours truly, on the right side of the screen, the white shirt. They're talking with the NYPD, and they were there to guarantee our safety, not to move us off, but to guarantee our safety, our right to have a celebration for Israel, and to save us from troubles because they were pro-Palestinians in New York. I ran into a few of them also at that time that were on the campus. So tempus mutandis, and see what happens now with my old alma mater, New York University. There we go. That's what's now. Resist by any means. Zionist donors and trustees, hands off our universities. Right? Resist colonial power by any means. Which means Israel is a colonial power, therefore it must be expunged from the earth. That's the core of the liberation doctrine that is being taught in the universities. And just as the whites were kicked out of power in South Africa, that's the comparison with the same apartheid, just as European powers were kicked out of Nigeria and Congo and so on, therefore, Jews must be out of Israel. They are colonialists. That's the implication. Not sharing power, out. So here again, flashback. Around this time to Columbia University. This picture is not Columbia University itself, but Columbia University was just a few blocks from my rabbinical school, Jewish Theological Seminary. They had joint programs between the two institutions, and I also took some coursework in psychology there. So this was from the period of the student struggle for Soviet Jewry, late 1960s. And I remember being at Columbia for one of the big rallies, right at the main square where all these rallies take place. Now, here is now that same place, right, as a rally for, right, where Jews rallied for Soviet Jewry. Now, Jews are told to stay home because we can't guarantee your safety. And a professor was barred from entry on campus, on his own campus, because he was an incitement to danger. All right. And then I go, this is then. I was present when Reverend Martin Luther King gave a speech in support of Israel to Convention of Rabbis. And he said, what's necessary and what's needed in the Middle East is peace. Peace for Israel is one thing. Peace for the Arab side of the world, another thing. Peace for Israel means security. And we must stand with all of our might to protect its right to exist. This is right after 1967, the Six-Day War. So its territorial integrity. I see Israel, and never mind saying, as one of the great outposts of democracy in the world, marvelous example of what can be done, how desert land can be transformed into an oasis of brotherhood and democracy. Peace for Israel means security, and that security must be a reality. No ifs, ands, or buts. And P.S., he did not mention one word about Palestinians. In 67, it was not yet a concept. It was part of the greater Arab question. So he addresses later the question of the Arab nation and issues that the Arab nation need, and then talking about Marshall Plan for the Arab peoples, creating prosperity so that all would live in peace. That was his vision. So, and then this is now. Go to Morehouse College, and the students are protesting to revoke an invitation given to President Biden because he supported Israel. And they quote the same Reverend King, who is a graduate of Morehouse, right? And the student says, it's absolutely unacceptable. We always want to talk about Dr. Martin Luther King. We always want to talk about the history of activism and leadership the school has. This decision does not reflect that history of social justice. That's the same Martin Luther King who supported Israel. And the student is using his name. to remove someone who's trying to get to some kind of modus vivendi. President Biden is trying to get things to settle down without killing Israel. So talk about Nietzschean inversion of values or an Orwellian newspeak taking over, which affects our very own. It affects our Jewish kids. So I'm just going to put up, and I'll have this available, links to what is really happening on U.S. campuses. Been going on, I said, for several years now, before the war to free the hostages. We'll give it that name. So this is from Ted Deutsch. Ted Deutsch, one second. Ted Deutsch, liberal Democrat, former congressman from Florida. So you cannot accuse him of being MAGA, right wing, head of the American Jewish Committee. And he puts up a video conference it's a video of the conference between the organization and the heads of Columbia, how to save the Jewish students there. And he says, pro-Hamas and anti-Semitic protesters are targeting Jewish students with physical intimidation. Taunts like, go back to Poland, praise for terrorists who carried out the October 7th massacre, in some cases physical violence. Right? This is not MAGA. This is not far right. This is our own guy, Ted Deutsch, liberal Democrat. And here's a statement directed to college administrators from Stand With Us, a student outreach organization. Stand With Us staff, students, and lay leaders around the world appalled by the level of vicious anti-Jewish racism promoted by anti-Israel tent encampments on a growing number of colleges. Right, and there's that link. And I'm going to post those on Facebook. So today, as we recite our prayers and memories of those we love, we need to be sure that no one will be allowed to put us in fear, as we've been put in fears of pogroms and mass killings and expulsions of the past centuries. We need to convey that in whatever way possible to our next generation, that we must stand strong and unbowed, never run from the mob, never hide our identity to pass or to make ourselves acceptable. There will be a rally tomorrow, if some of you can make it, on behalf of the Jewish students at UCLA, tomorrow at 11 a.m. At the flagpole next to Dixon Hall. It is in coordination with the Israel Action Committee and the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles and several other organizations. So I also put that up on our Facebook page. And now having said that, now we also owe it to the ones who set up and built this congregation, keep this congregation active and vital. And I'm going to say, Steve, yeah, you want to say something? Oh, at Professor Chemerinsky's, yeah. So one of the students, he had a meeting for students in the law school at his dinner, at his home, and one of them took over and brought in other people and took over the microphone. And that was 2 weeks ago. No, she was a student. She was an invited guest. And they said, this is inappropriate. This is not the topic. You're a guest in my house. You have to leave. And they refused to leave. And they had to call in. She wouldn't budge, and they had to call in security. And this is one of the great liberal thinkers and teachers in the United States, Chemerinsky. Yes. Right? So, yeah. He had different students. Right. So that is very typical. By the way, the great writing organization, PEN, which is, an association for freedom of expression for writers around the world, is about to blow up because they're being torn apart in this fight also. That you cannot publish this, you cannot publish this, you cannot publish this one, you cannot publish this one. It's very dangerous. That's right. And then she intentionally got in a situation where the wife of Professor Chemerinsky tried to move her aside and said, oh, you took off my hijab, I'm suing you. Yes. All right. You let people know this is the behavior. You let people know this is the behavior. At the beginning, I have a feeling maybe there'll be a little bit of restraining of some of the talk, but it's like the masks were coming off on these people. And from just saying, stop the genocide in Gaza, ceasefire in Gaza, it was getting more to, like we're saying in the 60s about the police, off the pigs, that kind of language. Blunt, calls for, right? Picture of a Qassam rocket aimed at Jewish students, holding in the sun protest sign, right? Things like that. It's just like the mask is falling off many of these protesters, that is their real intention. That it is to drive Jews from campuses drive Jews from any positions of influence, whatever the long-range purpose is. Now, how many of them, I don't know, but I know the nature of students is that we all get excited and we all want to be on the right side. So we come down, and so people interview students who are in the encampment, and someone say, "What are you here for?" Well, there's police coming into the campus, but what's it about? We know about Gaza and something. Where? How many? What? I don't know. I came here from Columbia University, and I really don't know the background. Columbia University student, top student, doesn't know the background. Okay. Now, maybe she was the one out of a million that they happened to pick on, but it's a lot. Okay. So now, let us go now to be enabling, to be able for us to enable support for our students. We ourselves need to be able to go on. And I just, it's time to put things on the table. We're on our last dime as a synagogue. We have very few assets, very little financial support, and we need your help to roll up our sleeves at this time. So I want to call in Alan Diamnd, please. Come. I'm going to close this down.
Can I go up there?
Talk from here, because this microphone's. Go ahead.
Well, I'm a very unlikely choice, I think, for the rabbi to have asked to speak to you about the, what, not.
Oh, to the mic. Yeah. Close to the mic. That's it. Good.
Okay. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
I was a very unlikely choice, I would think, for the rabbi to ask me to address this topic. And that is because I am a very recent member of the synagogue, and I'm sorry to admit I'm not a regular Sabbath attendee. And I really had very little knowledge of how serious the financial situation was. So when I come, as I always do for Yizkor and for Yahrzeit, I mean, I would give, the minimum magical number, 1836 and so on, and not really think of how important those contributions are beyond the incredibly generous low figure of membership. And I learned only recently how serious our situation is financially. We're on a precipice. And even though I'm not taking full advantage, like I suspect many members are not, this congregation, this synagogue is my link to Judaism. And I care very much about it. And I think it's a link for all of us. And even if we're not here all the time, even if we don't take advantage of everything, the fact that it is here, that it exists, is something that we take for granted, not in a bad way, but just that our lives go on and we know that when we need the synagogue, it will be here. And now we're in a situation where it may not be here unless all of us step up financially and give more money and make a commitment to give more money, to put it brutally, and make a commitment to give more money to help the synagogue survive. And Yizkor is really the appropriate time to make this pitch. In fact, one of the things that surprised me when I first joined this congregation is how easygoing we really are in terms of asking money from people, from members, from congregants. Every synagogue I've ever been at, everyone takes a huge amount of time before Yizkor to say how the synagogue needs more money, to give cards out right in the synagogue where people press down how much they're going to contribute, then collect the cards, what their pledges are, read out the pledges, read out the names. We don't do that. And we kind of leave it up to everyone to just hopefully contribute what they can And it isn't enough. It just is not enough. So Yizkor is the perfect time now because we are mandated to do charity in the name of our departed, our loved ones. And what better way to do charity? What better way to bring the past into our present and into our future than to give a substantial amount of money, as much as we can afford, and maybe even a little more, to keep this congregation alive. So, in summary, and there'll be others who can give you greater chapter and verse as to what our financial situation is. I can only say from everything I've heard, it's dire. We're really on a precipice. And you've got to, you and everyone you talk to, and all of us, myself included, because I'm as guilty, if guilty is the right word, of giving, the minimum that I have to. We need to step up our game. And there's a threefold purpose then to our Yizkor contributions. One is obviously to honor our loved ones. And one is to begin this effort. And it's only a beginning, but it's a start. And it should be a strong start to save the synagogue. And lastly, this is the perfect time to step up because of what the rabbi has been talking about, the anti-Semitic horrors that we are witnessing. Who could have ever imagined here in America that there would be this, and that they would be coming from people who call themselves liberals, and people who call themselves liberals who are too craven and cowardly and politically concerned to step up and condemn what's going on. Now, many of you may know the Jewish philosopher, late Jewish philosopher, Emil Farkenheim, but he added to our Jewish heritage a 614th commandment, that Hitler shall have no posthumous victories. There shall be Jews. There shall be a Jewish people. And I would like to just add a small addendum to that, that there shall be Jewish institutions. There shall be Jewish congregations. And here we are dealing with an Ashkenazi synagogue that has existed for 100 years. And they're more than 100. So this is worth surviving too. And in this climate that we are facing now, what better way to show our outrage at this attack on Jews and Judaism and Israel than to save this Ashkenazi congregation? And there are envelopes, now you don't have to search for them. There are envelopes outside on the table when you walk out, which will give you the opportunity to pledge and take them home and send in a check. So thank you very much.
Go ahead, Carmen.
Sure.
Yeah. It's separate. Then we can use those people. Very good. Yeah, very good. Very good. Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. And I'm going to add, by the way, just before you go into the Yizkor, talk about the congregation being over 100, Joe, at over 100. Would you like to show us your FBI certification? And then we're going to go into the Yizkor. Come up here. Yeah, come up here. You guys, watch out for Joe. He's there with together with J. Edgar Hoover, one of the top guys. All right. Yeah. hold it, go to the center. That's it, and then, yeah, then we can see it up. Let me get it here. There we go. There we go. Can everybody read it? We'll get a close-up, yeah. Read it. No, the microphone is here. Microphone is here. Yeah.
Okay. Rabbi, read it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, you
go into
got
the
it
microphone.
right
Go into the
there.
microphone.
Oh,
Joe, talking. Oh, you've got the mic on you. Go
I
ahead.
got one. Yeah. Well, I was talking at the FBI office here, and they hooked up 51 FBI offices around the country when I talked to them. And this is a certificate from, so you see here, from this Director General from the FBI. And as you see, they gave me a keeper here.
Yeah,
with the
FBI.
FBI.
In the back,
Uh,
in Hebrew, on the back.
The back.
You
the
see it?
Hebrew on
There
the
we
back.
go. Yeah.
Don't everybody can
Yeah.
hear. Please, read it loud.
I'll read the
okay?
flag. Yeah, okay. It says the Federal Bureau of Investigation expresses appreciation to Joseph Alexander for exceptional service in the public interest, April 2024. Christopher Ray, signed by the director of the SBI with official seal. Put it up to the camera. Off camera.
Oh,
Go that
this
way?
No, you,
No, I'm trying to get this on the camera. Can you go close up of the,
no, now you're
let's
off.
see. This is,
No,
there we go.
no, now,
Okay,
yeah, you're in the camera.
zero
now.
in. That's it, a little bit up. That's it.
Oh, there.
Now you believe me. Okay. All right, Joe. Yashikov. Keep us safe. He's still talking to kids and students this last week in high school in
2 days.
the Inland Empire,
Don't know, Thursday.
Thursday.
And the FBI gave me a charge coming. And see, in Hebrew, yeah.
Okay.
FBI,
So don't say anything in front of Joe without your attorney.
there.
Okay. There we go. All right. Good. Now, let's go ahead. I want to go on with the,
Actually, good. Yeah.
so we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to put this up. Let's go ahead to page